Welcome to the XLMOTO Garage, where today we're going to be talking about rain covers. We'll talk about the fabric, we'll talk about the features, and we'll talk about what you actually need and the things you need to think about when you're purchasing one. So a few things you want to think about when you're buying a bike cover. Number one is the cost. You know, you can buy cheap bike covers that are made out of nylon, but the trouble is they're not going to last very long. So you want to think about the fabric, the make, the brand, the kind of fabric that it's made out of, and the thickness of the fabric. Then you want to think about security. So you want to think about whether it's got holes that you can put chains through, so it's an obvious deterrent. And then the final thing is obviously UV protection as well, because you don't want your bike with great paintwork getting all flipping sun bleached when it's out in the sun. So there's several different things that you should think about when thinking about buying your bike cover. Okay, so let's take this bike cover out, put it on the bike and see how we get on. Woohoo! So for a start, it's slightly windy around here. However, there's a secure attachment around the middle, so we'll just take that off and then we'll pull that over the bike from the front to the back. Okay, so there's a front and a back to the bike, because the front needs to fit over your handlebars. So one of the things that you want to think about is the width of your handlebars. You also want to think if you've got a top box or side boxes on the bike as well, because different bike covers will cater for different scenarios on bikes. If you've got a small sports bike, you're not going to need big wide handlebars and you're not going to need a big amount of fabric at the back. But for this particular bike, fits nice and snugly at the back, plenty of room for the handlebars, and you don't want it flapping around. So you don't want a massive, great big bike cover, because otherwise it's going to scratch up your paintwork. So you want to make sure that the bike cover goes over the front. And here you can see that we have a space, which means that you can put a bike lock through here, and that's a deterrent, but it also means that you can lock it to something if you've got a security ground tie on there. And then once the bike cover's over, usually underneath, just to stop it from blowing off, you can secure it using the strap and then pull that up nice and tight, and that will stop the bike cover from blowing off in any conditions such as today. So there we go, we have our bike cover. It has reflective details on it. This one's a particularly sturdy material, probably about 300 denier. So this will give you plenty of protection from UV and also rain, bird poo, dust and dirt. Get yours today at XLMOTO.